Hello everyone, welcome to VJ's World. Today I'm going to read a story from 365 Arabian Tales. Before I read the story, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please like, subscribe, and share. Now let's begin our story. Story of Solomon. Lord Solomon was one day talking with the Genie. He said to them, a girl has been born at the Bursa and a boy, Jabraka. This boy and this girl shall meet. A witch said to the genie, in spite of the will of God, I shall never let them meet each other. The son of King Jabbaka came to Solomon's house, but hardly had he arrived when he fell ill. Then the witch carried away the daughter of the king of the Bursa and hid her in a big tree near the sea. The prince of Jabarka was traveling when he fell ill. He came to rest under the big tree in which the girl had been hidden by the devil. The young girl threw leaves at him. She said to him, go bring a horse and kill it. Bring also some camphor to dry the skin. Right then the witch came, and she said to the son of the king, go hide inside the horse. He hid there. The next day, the witch took away the carcass of the horse, and the young girl departed also. However, King Solomon ordered the genie to untie the two lovers, and they killed the witch and released the girl and the prince. Story of Shahryar and Shah Zaman. There was a king of Banu Sasan named King Shahryar. He made his young brother Shah Zaman the king of Samarkand. Each brother ruled his own kingdom fairly and peacefully for many years. But after a few years, the elder king yearned for a sight of his younger brother. So he took counsel with his vizier about visiting him. Here was a king of Banu Sasan named King Shahryar. He made his younger brother Shah Zaman the king of Samarkand. Each brother ruled his own kingdom fairly and peacefully for many years. But after a few years, the elder king yearned for a sight of his younger brother. So he took counsel with his vizier about visiting him. The king Shahryar commanded the vizier to write to Shah Zaman and order him to rush to his brother. Shah Zaman read the letter and said, I hear and I obey the commands of beloved brother. Now when Shah Zaman drew near the capital of his brother, he sent messengers to announce his arrival, and Shahryar came forth to meet him. The two entered the capital in all honor. Shahryar and Shah Zaman were really happy and spent time with each other, talking about their past days. The fate of the man who stole rice. A man once gave his wife a dirham to buy rice. She took it and went to the rice seller, who gave her the rice but said, rice is not good, but with sugar. He gave him the dinar and asked him for sugar as well. So he packed the rice and sugar in her napkin. However, on the way she met a wicked woman who tricked her and stole her napkin. The woman was very afraid of her husband would stay to her. So She went back to the rice seller and asked him for help. The kind man gave her free rice and sugar. However, the woman also wanted to teach the wicked woman a lesson. So she stopped on the way and first filled another napkin with dust and stones. Then she passed the wicked woman again, who again snatched her napkin. However, this time it was the napkin with dust and stones in it. When she went home and opened it, she realized that she had been tricked again. Meanwhile, the good woman went to her home and cooked the rice and sugar for her husband. As the man took his first mouthful, he craved for more. He had never tasted anything so delicious in his life. The good woman's husband gave her some more money to buy rice and sugar the next day. The wicked woman, on the other hand, had nothing to cook. She stayed hungry for days. After a few days, she knocked at the good woman's door and asked for some food. The kind woman served her rice and sugar. Touched by the kind woman's generosity, the wicked woman asked for forgiveness and decided to never steal anything from anyone again. She soon started working as a cook and never stole again. The physician and the leper king. Once the king of Zoman was suffering from leprosy, and his physician had unsuccessfully tried every remedy when a very learned physician called Doban arrived at the court. Doban made a racket with a hollow in the handle to admit the drug he meant to use. He also prepared a sort of round ball, he said. O king, exercise by striking the ball with this bat till you find yourself sweating. Doban further said, return to your palace and get a warm bath. The king followed every prescription, and the next morning he was surprised to find that his leprosy was entirely cured and that his body was as clear as if he had never been attacked by the disease. As soon as he mounted his throne, he received congratulations of all his courtiers. The king called Duban and made him sit by his side. The story of Nuruddin Ali and Badruddin Hassan. The Grand Vizier of the Sultan of Egypt had two sons, Shamsuddin Muhammad and Nuruddin Ali. On the death of their father, the Sultan said, I give each of you equal position. Go and imitate your father's duty. One day, both brothers had a dispute. Nuruddin Ali decided to leave the city. He provided himself with money, precious stones, and some food and set off on his journey on a mule. When Nuruddin arrived at Balsora, he met the Grand Vizier of Balsora. Nuruddin told his story to him. He took Nuruddin with him. Nuruddin soon earned the favor of the Vizier by showing his skills. The Vizier proposed him to marry his daughter and gave the administration of the affairs of the state to Nuruddin. On hearing this, Nuruddin agreed to marry her and she gave birth to a child and they named him Badruddin Hassan. At the same time, his brother's wife gave birth to a girl and they married her to Badruddin Hassan when they grew up. The story of Nuruddin Ali and Badruddin Hassan too. A fairy once took Badruddin Hassan to Cairo from Damascus at night. He told everyone that he was in Cairo the previous night. An old man said, "You must be mistaken, for how could you be the last night at Cairo and this morning at Damascus?" "It is very true," replied he, "and I assure you, moreover, that I passed the whole of yesterday at Balsora." He had scarcely uttered these words when they all burst into laughter and cried, "He is mad! He is mad!"
Eunuch.
While Hassan was at Damascus, his wife gave birth to a boy, and his grandfather named him Agib. One day, Agib set out for Damascus with the eunuch. The eunuch and Agib came by chance to the shop where Badruddin Hassan was. People surrounded them. There, Badruddin served them cheesecake. The eunuch took him away as soon as he sensed danger. The eunuch took him away as soon as he sensed danger. Badruddin followed them. Agib, seeing this, took a large stone and threw it at Badruddin Hassan. The story of Nuruddin Ali and Badruddin Hassan. One slave brought a cheesecake and gave it to the widow of Nuruddin Ali. She broke off a piece to taste it, but it had hardly touched her lips when she uttered a loud cry. "By Allah, I must have been my son, my dear son Badruddin Hassan, who made this cake." The Nuruddin summoned 50 of his people and ordered them to follow the slave and find the man who made the cake. Soon they found the cook and brought him to the palace. Then they realized that this was none other than Badruddin Hassan. The servants took Badruddin Hassan to his chamber. Badruddin Hassan did not understand what was happening. He remained restless. When the Wazir Shamsuddin Muhammad, his uncle, knocked at the door, Badruddin Hassan was extremely surprised, but no words can give any idea of the joy of Badruddin Hassan when he saw his mother and his son Agib. Soon they were all together again. The cow and the calf. Once there was a man who was married for 30 years without having any children. His desire for an heir was great that he purchased a female slave who bore him a son of great promise and beauty. Soon afterwards, his wife became jealous and started hating both the mother and the child. When his son was about 10 years old, the old man went on a pilgrimage. In his absence, his wife changed his son into a calf and the slave woman into a cow. Immediately on his return, the man inquired about his son and his second wife. Your slave is dead, she said, and it is now more than 2 months since I have seen your son. He consoled himself with the hope that he would soon be found. To celebrate the festival of the great Bairam, he ordered his servants to bring the fattest cow for sacrifice. The cow brought by the servant was his own slave. The man was about to sacrifice the cow, but she started crying and tears fell from her eyes. He was surprised and untied the cow. He soon found out what had happened and asked a wise man to change the cow and calf back into humans. The Arab and the monster. Once an enormous beast came upon a city at Taberchint and devoured all the people. The beast established itself in the city and stayed there a century. One day it came out into the plain, found some Arabs with their tents, their sheep, their oxen, their mares, their camels in the night, and ate them all up. A single man escaped and went to King of Jews. There he advised the king to make a great trap of the size of the entrance to trap the monster. Then he tied the trap at the northern gate. He also wished to have enough amount of sulfur to burn the monster. The king of the Jews ordered the smiths to make a big trap and commanded the citizens to bring the sulfur. When all was ready, the soldiers of the Jews fitted the trap to the gate and tied 2 mules to attract the monster. The beast came with a roar, but was trapped as the king planned. The soldiers then burnt the beast with sulfur. Now the king made the man the caliph of the city at Tabarjan. The Sultan of Kashgar. Once the Sultan of Kashgar was invited by a man to the wedding of one of his daughters. At the feast, there was one dish of rag out, and everyone had to eat it. A merchant was angry at this. He ate the dish in great anger. While he was eating, everyone remarked that he had only 4 fingers and no thumb. The host then said, You seem to have lost your thumb. How did such an incident happen? Then the man without a thumb related the following story. One morning, as I was opening my shop, a lady entered my shop with her eunuch. There was no one to be seen in the bazaar except the eunuch and me. So she took off her veil. I had never seen anyone so beautiful, and I fell in love. Her eunuch told me she loves you more than you love her. Then we got married, and at the feast there was a rag out made with garlic. I found it so excellent that I kept licking my fingers and thumb. Seeing this, she cut off my 2 thumbs. That is why I am angry when I see rag out. The three apples. Once the Caliph Harun al-Rashid fell ill. His physician told him to eat three golden apples, having a special juice. To find those apples, he set out various parts of the city with his officers. They passed through several squares and many marketplaces. One evening, in the light of the moon, they met a fisherman who was carrying his nets on his head. He had on his arm a basket made of palm leaves and in his hand a stick. The officers asked him if he knew of the tree of golden apples and offered him 100 gold pieces. The fisherman guided them to the tree. The officers took the golden apples to the caliph, who ate them. Soon he was well again. He told his officers to go and search for the fisherman and bring him to the court. The officers searched for him but could not find him. The caliph was angry because he wanted to reward the fisherman. One day the fisherman himself came to Harun's court and told him that he was the man who knew of the golden apples. The caliph was very happy and gave him a lot of money and married him to a beautiful slave girl. The fisherman spent rest of his life in comfort and peace. The woman and the fairy. A woman who was named Halima went one day to the stream to wash at the old spring. Alone, in the middle of the day, she began her work when a woman appeared to her and said, "Let us be friends. When you come to the spring, bring me some perfumes. I will give you money." It turned out that this woman was actually a fairy. When Halima became friends with the fairy, she grew rich all of a sudden. The people were curious to know how Halima had suddenly become so rich. There was a rich man who owned a lot of property. He was called Ismail. The people thought that Halima was the mistress of Ismail and was giving her money. One day, when she went to the spring to bath, the people followed her. The fairy came to meet her as usual and gave her money. The people came out and the fairy was scared away. She never came out of the fountain again. The physician's armless patient. A Jewish physician was studying medicine at Damascus. While studying, he began to practice admirable science and cured people with much care. He happened to meet people of all sorts and professions. Once he had a patient who was a very handsome young man. Whenever the physician wished to feel his pulse, he held out his left hand to him. When the man recovered, the physician told him that he no longer required any doctor or indeed any medical help but a bath. When he was undressed, it was found that he had lost his right hand. The physician even remarked that it had been lately cut off. This had been the real cause of his disease, which he had hidden from the physician. The young man said to him, "Do not be surprised. I will inform you how I lost it." Then told the physician his story. "I was in love with a girl. Once she bought a friend even more beautiful than her. I was sitting opposite my new guest, who did not stop smiling at me. My lover became very jealous, so she stole a necklace and placed it in my room and accused me of stealing it. I was arrested and I lied that I had actually stolen it. So many hands was cut off. My hands was cut off, but my lover did not forgive me. The young man further told the physician that from the day onwards he had remained in a constant state of pain and agony. Life no longer held any meaning for him and he missed his lover terribly. The physician became very sad after hearing the man's heart-rending story. The physician consoled his patient that God will reward you for your kindness. The patient felt relieved and went away. On returning home, he met a beautiful girl crying for help. He rescued the girl from robbers. The girl was impressed by the bravery of the patient. She immediately fell in love with him. He too liked the girl. They got married and lived happily ever after. Thank you very much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.